This is KBS World Radio, the overseas service of the Korean Broadcasting System, coming to you from Seoul, the capital of the Republic of Korea. We now begin today's English broadcast on KBS World Radio.
From Seoul, Korea, KBS World Radio News starts right now. On today's broadcast, parliamentary deliberations of an extra budget bill move smoothly ahead of a vote scheduled for Tuesday. North Korea urges South Korea's fundamental policy shift in its first response to President Moon Jae-in's Berlin Initiative. And the U.S. House passes the fiscal 2018 defense budget, which increases missile defense spending against threats from North Korea and Iran. This is KBS World Radio News. I'm Rosine Park. The National Assembly Special Committee on Budget and Accounts referred the government's supplementary budget bill to the Budget Adjustment Subcommittee on Saturday, accelerating deliberations on the bill. The Budget Committee opened a general meeting on the bill Friday afternoon, which ended past midnight following hours of inquiries. During a policy Q&A session, opposition lawmakers said the extra budget bill aimed at job creation does not fulfill legal requirements. They also argued that raising the number of public employees will increase fiscal burdens over the long term. Ruling party lawmakers, however, stressed the seriousness of mass unemployment and defended the bill, saying it will not require the issuance of state bonds. The subcommittee review is set for Sunday and Monday. The Budget Committee will then convene Tuesday and vote on the extra budget bill before the Assembly's plenary session opens at 2 p.m. North Korea has issued its first response to South Korean President Moon Jae-in's July 6 speech in Berlin, where he outlined his vision to improve inter-Korean ties. An editorial released on Saturday by the North's ruling Workers' Party's newspaper, the Norong Shinmun, criticized the Berlin Initiative as being full of sophistry that will only pose hurdles to peace and improvement in cross-border relations. But it also gave a positive assessment, saying what is fortunate is that Moon's initiative contains a stance different from his predecessors, and noted that Moon expressed respect and vowed implementation of past inter-Korean agreements made in 2000 and 2007. The commentary indicated that it's difficult to expect the implementation of any new promises without a fundamental shift in policy and stance towards the North. The Minimum Wage Commission is holding another session Saturday to set next year's minimum wage. 10 rounds of meetings so far have failed to produce an agreement. Labor groups are demanding a near 48% wage increase to $9,571 from the current $6,471. Management is pushing for a 3.1% increase to $6,671. Both sides brought revised proposals to the meeting, which began at the government complex in Sejong City on Saturday afternoon. The U.S. House of Representatives has passed its version of the 2018 defense bill, amounting to $696 billion. The National Defense Authorization Act was approved on Friday by a vote of 344 to 81. The defense budget is an increase of 12.4% from the fiscal 2017 defense budget of $619 billion. The 2018 defense budget increases spending on missile defense by 25% to respond to ballistic missile threats from North Korea and Iran, among others. The Senate will vote on its version of the National Defense Authorization Act later this year. The House and Senate versions must be reconciled before the measure can be sent to President Donald Trump to sign into law or veto. The U.S. House of Representatives has voted to approve a provision that would bar the Pentagon from doing business with telecommunications firms that support North Korean cyber attacks. According to the U.S. political website, The Hill, the amendment proposed by Representative Robert Pittenger was approved Friday by the full House to be included in an annual defense policy bill. The Hill said that specifically, the provision would prohibit the Pentagon from doing business with telecommunications firms found to have knowingly assisted or facilitated a cyber attack carried out by or on behalf of the government of North Korea or individuals associated with the government. Director of National Intelligence Dan Coates would be required within 30 days of law's enactment to make a list of the telecommunications contractors associated with North Korean cyber attacks. The U.S.-based North Korea monitoring website 38 North says there have been at least 2 unreported reprocessing campaigns in North Korea since last fall to produce plutonium. 38 North reported on Friday that the findings is based on thermal satellite imagery analysis of the Yongbyon Nuclear Scientific Research Center from last September to this past June. The North's radiochemical laboratory was said to have operated intermittently, and there appear to have been at least 2 unreported reprocessing campaigns to produce an undetermined amount of plutonium that can further increase North Korea's nuclear weapons stockpile.
You're now listening to the news from KBS World Radio's News Center in Seoul, Korea.
Unionized workers at Hyundai Motor have voted to stage a walkout over failed negotiations on wage and collective agreements. The union held a vote among its more than 50,000 members Thursday and Friday, and a majority supported the move, paving the way for a legal strike to be held Tuesday when the National Labor Relations Commission concludes its 10-day mediation period. Other carmakers are also mulling a walkout. As the job market for youths further tightens, unemployment has worsened among those with higher education. The number of jobless people with a university diploma or higher accounted for more than half of the total unemployed in the country for the first time ever in this year's second quarter. Statistics Korea data on Saturday showed 546,000 college graduates were unemployed in the April to June period, up 11.8% year-on-year. In the second quarter, over 1 million South Koreans were unemployed. 50.5% of this total were people with a university diploma, marking the first time for college graduates to account for more than half of the unemployment total since 1999. South Korea has posted a large trade deficit with the U.S. in the agricultural and livestock sector last year. The Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs said Saturday that South Korea's agricultural and livestock exports to the U.S. reached $716 million last year, while imports amounted to $6.8 billion for a deficit of over $6.1 billion. Beef was the single largest import from the U.S. to the tune of over $1 billion. The domestic market share of American beef has shot up to 48.4% during the first 5 months of this year, surpassing the 42.8% share held by Australian beef. The latest data comes as the U.S. has formally requested talks to revise the Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement, as ordered by President Donald Trump, over claims of a trade imbalance with Korea. North Korea says a Korean-Canadian pastor who has been detained in the north for 30 months held a meeting with the Swedish ambassador in Pyongyang on Friday. The North's official Korean Central News Agency said the acting Swedish ambassador met with Im Hyun-soo, who has been serving a sentence since December 2015 for carrying out hostile acts against the regime. And that's the news from KBS World Radio's News Center in Seoul. I'm Rosine Park.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Saturday Mailbag Show, KBS Listeners Lounge, coming to you from Seoul, the capital of South Korea.
It's Saturday, July 15th, 2017, and as always, we've got the latest listeners' letters, messages, and reports we receive from you coming right up.
So please stay tuned. I'm Lawrence Taylor.
And I'm Kim Ji-eun. We'll be right back. Hi, Lawrence.
Hi, Jian. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
That's good to know. I have a question. Do you remember the first tourist site in Seoul, or in Korea, rather, you visited when you first came here?
Yeah, I do actually. I came here in 2013 and I went to Gyeongbokgung Palace on my first weekend. I remember being really impressed. It was my first time in Asia at all, actually, so everything was new to me. And actually, the following weekend, I went to North Seoul Tower. But at the time, I didn't know it was the romantic spot in the capital, basically, for couples.
Right.
A lot of people propose there.
Right.
Actually, my friend proposed to his now wife there.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
that's cool.
Right. I just went there to get a view of the city, actually. But then when I told my co-workers that I went alone, they kind of thought I was a bit strange.
No, I haven't been up the tower on my own, but I have been to Namsan, or the Namsan Mountain, on my own, too. Just because it's a nice place.
Yeah, it's a great view as well. Right.
And where would you recommend to, or rather take your friends from England if they were to visit Seoul?
Actually, my family is coming to Korea for the first time in October.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, that's great. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to take them to Gwanjang Market. It's probably the most famous market here in Seoul. They can try some traditional Korean food. And then walk by Cheonggyecheon Stream.
Sounds
very
good.
Nice. Yeah, also Insadong. They can pick up some souvenirs there. What about you? Where would you take your friends from Canada?
Well, most of my high school friends have actually visited me in Korea already, and I usually take them to at least one of the major palaces in Seoul. There are several, actually, and my favorite is Changgyeonggung Palace. But if they only want to go to just one palace, then I take them to Gyeongbokgung Palace, because I think it's the most well reconstructed and also the most visited and the most historical, even.
Right, it's kind of a must-see when you come to Seoul, I think. I actually assumed the palaces would be the top tourist site in Korea, but apparently Gyeongbokgung is only actually the second most popular destination, according to the Korean Culture and Tourism Institute statistics. A theme park just on the southern outskirts of Seoul was actually the most popular.
Yeah, that's actually a bit of a surprise for me. I mean, as much as I love some of the rides there, and they have nice animals there too. It is attached to a zoo, and it is very big, and it's nice. I'm trying to say it's nice, but it's no international places like Disneyland or Universal Studios, and there are quite a few of those in nearby countries, in Japan and in China.
Yeah, right. I guess maybe it's the zoo and the safari that kind of adds to the attraction there and adds to the appeal. And also the stats included both international and local tourists, so maybe that had something to do with the result.
Right. I guess not many Koreans feel the need to go to the palaces because they think schools often take students there on field trips. As Lauren said, Gyeongbokgung Palace came second on the list, followed by Kintex in Goyang, where actually I have taken my friends from Canada too, because they had the Seoul Motor Show there several years ago. Of course, Kintex is in Goyang, Gyeonggi-do Province. Suncheonbae in Jeollanam-do Province followed, and it was also followed by Imjingak in Paju, Gyeonggi-do Province. Another place I took my friends because it's really close to the DMZ, and they were interested in the whole division of the peninsula. So
right, it's famous for all the bookshops as well. That's right, isn't it? Also on the list were the Seoul Racecourse Park in Gwacheon, Gyeonggi-do Province, where I visited last month for my birthday. There's the National Museum of Korea in Yongsan, Seoul. Nami Island in Chuncheon, and also Songsan Sunrise Peak in Jeju. Jian, how many of these places have you been to?
I've been to all of them that we mentioned so far, except for Suncheonbae, the Racecourse Park, and also Nami Island in Chuncheon. But all the other places I've been multiple times. What about yourself?
I haven't been to Suncheon or Nami Island either. I hear Nami Island's really nice, so it's definitely on my list.
That's another very coupley place, apparently.
Right. Thanks for the heads up. And I haven't been to the National Museum yet either, so I'll have to go there sometime. Everywhere else I've been to, though. Is there anywhere else that you would recommend aside from those that made it onto the list?
Well, I think we already mentioned this several times, but I really love all the palaces. I used to just want to take walks, especially in the springtime when there are lots of flowers, but it has been a while since the last time I went. I think it was springtime a couple of years ago. I took my mom there, and she was actually very surprised at how much it's changed since she last visited several decades ago, because they are continuously reconstructing more buildings, and there were some parts of history of the palaces are rather sad because of the colonization period, and it's taking I guess gradual effort to bring it back to the old glory. So it is improving as years go by. Also, Seoraksan Mountain and the East Coast in general is also a great place to visit with lots of fun memories for me. What about you? Let's go off the list one more time and see what kind of recommendations you might have.
I really like Gangneung on the East Coast.
Right.
It's really peaceful. It has a beautiful beach. You can get good seafood. So I definitely recommend it there. If you're looking to go on a short trip in Korea this summer.
So that's 2 recommendations from 2 of us here to go to the East Coast. So I guess that's hint, hint, nudge, nudge to everyone wanting to visit Korea. All right, now before we move on to the letters and reports portion of the program, let me just remind you that we've got some maintenance work currently underway at our Kimjae transmission station.
That's right. For the English service, our broadcast on 9.580 megahertz from 0200 to 0300 hours UTC will be affected until November 30th. We do apologize for any inconvenience this may cause, and of course thank you in advance for your patience.
Also, the online version of our overseas listener satisfaction survey has been closed, but for those listeners who have received the hard copies of the surveys in the mail, please note that you have until the end of August, that's next month, to send them to us. Thank you for your troubles.
Well, that's all we've got on our bulletin board for today. We'll move on to this week's letters and reports after a quick break, so don't go away. You're listening to KBS Listeners Lounge on KBS World Radio. It's time now for us to take a look at the listener letters and reception reports. As usual, we've received some fantastic handwritten, typed up, and emailed comments, letters, and reception reports from you, our listeners, and we'll share some of those with you on this program.
We'll start with some of the reports that we didn't get to last week because we ran out of time. Listener Deepa Chakrabarti of India listened to us on 9.880 megahertz on June 29th from 1400 to 1600 hours UTC. She used a National Panasonic receiver with the built-in rod antenna and rated the SINPO 44434, which is pretty good. She wrote, listening on shortwave to KBS World Radio is entertaining and enjoyable. Your revised frequency 9.880 megahertz beam to India has good signal strength with occasional interference. I like listening to Korean music and news around the world. I heard the news about Korean President Moon's meeting with the U.S. President, the U.S. accusing China of money laundering for North Korea, and the news of Korean actor Son Yeon-ju winning the Best Actor award at the 39th Moscow International Film Festival. Well, thank you very much for your report, Deepa.
And listener N. Arun Kumar of India also listened to us on 9.880 megahertz on July 1st from about 1525 hours UTC. He used an ICOM IC718 receiver with a 20-meter long wire inverted V antenna, and he rated the SINPO 3 across the board. He also wrote, when I tuned in to Mighty KBS World Radio at about 1525 hours UTC, an English song with music was being broadcast. As the disturbance increased, I could not identify the song. Well, first of all, thank you for referring to us as the Mighty KBS World Radio. I quite like that name. And of course, 1500 to 1600 hours UTC on 9.880 megahertz is now quite notorious for the QRM by China Radio International. But thank you very much, Aaron.
Listener Noor Hassan of India left us an online reception report saying that he listened to us on 9.880 megahertz on July 2nd from 1450 to 1550 hours UTC. He said he used a Grundig digital receiver and rated the SINPO 5 across the board. He also noted that he took our online overseas listener satisfaction survey, so thank you very much for your report and also taking the survey.
Our Bangladeshi monitor Mizanur Rahman also sent us a log for 9.880 MHz, and that was dated July 1st through 5th. He used a Grundig digital receiver with a compact antenna to listen to us from 1400 to 1500 hours UTC, and he rated the SIMPO 3 across the board for all 5 days. He said that the reception condition was fair, although there was some interference by several stations as well as some noise. Thank you for the report, Mizanur.
Listener M. Salim Akhtar Chadar of Pakistan left us a number of reports on 9.880 MHz recently as well. On July 1st, he said that he tuned into us on the frequency from 1400 to 1600 hours UTC and rated the SIMPO 54545. He dropped by again several days later and wrote that he listened to us on 9.880 MHz between 1400 and 1600 hours UTC on July 8th, 9th, and 10th, rating the SIMPO 54555, 45455, and 54555 once again, respectively. He also wrote, news about all over the world and especially Korea help keep me informed about current affairs. K-pop songs touched me. I like Korean culture and food very much. K-drama, K-cinema. I like K-dance the most, and I think hanbok is very charming. Thank you very much from M. Salim Akhtar Chadar, 7 Stars Listeners Club. Thank you very much for your report and also for liking the Korean culture so much.
And here's another report on 9.880 MHz. Listener Shivendu Paul of India sent us a couple of emails earlier this week, which included a reception report for July 7th, when he listened to us from 1400 to 1500 hours UTC. He used a Grundig YB80 receiver with a normal antenna and rated the SIMPO 4 across the board. He not only attached an audio recording of the broadcast, but he also sent us some photographs of students practicing yoga, and he wrote, June 21st was International Yoga Day. Our school students observed this day by practicing yoga. We discussed about the utility of yoga in our lives. I am sending you some photos related to this Yoga Day program. I know your country observes this day too. Our school students want to know if Korean school students are interested in yoga. We regularly practice yoga, drawing, and poem recitation in class with our students, and we observe different cultural programs. They are very interested in your programs too.
I think it's wonderful that your students practice yoga in class at school. I hear that it's really helpful, especially for kids who have problems concentrating or calming down. And I've even read news articles about some Western schools replacing detention with meditation and yoga. And apparently it's really, really effective. I'm pretty sure it's more effective than those fidget spinners. Now, unfortunately, I have yet to hear such news about Korean schools. I think yoga is mostly practiced by women in Korea for the time being, but hopefully its popularity will grow with men and children too. There are a few guys in my yoga class, but I've yet to see anyone younger than college age in this class. As for school activities, I remember fine arts, music, and physical education being a regular part of the curriculum at school. We also learned to make cards. I mean, I'm thinking elementary schools, because that's the only school I went to here. But yeah, we learned to make cards, paper flowers, or write letters to parents on special occasions, and learned how to bow and stuff for the holidays, and how to wear hanbok, and how to dress your older relatives and whatnot. So cultural/etiquette related traditional stuff were taught at school. I guess it wasn't really a part of the curriculum, but it's up to the individual teachers to teach. It's no yoga, but I think such activities definitely made school more interesting and also taught the students not only academia, but stuff that's really useful and also I guess practical in everyday lives. Well, I hope that answered your question, and thank you for your report and also for sharing your photos with us.
Next up, we'll share with you a beautifully written letter and reception report by our UK monitor Grant Skinner, who used a silver pen to write on a piece of black patterned paper. And he wrote, Dear KBS World Radio, I tried to listen to your broadcast on June 6th on 15.595 MHz at 1320 hours UTC on a Grundig YB400 with an extendable rod, and that gave a SIMPO of 15111. The weather has been nice and sunny here, so I expected KBS World Radio to be on, but unfortunately it wasn't, so I have come to 2 conclusions. The engineer switches on the transmitter when he wants to, or you need a relay station like the German and French sections, which makes sense since you are very far away. I would like to make a suggestion, the relay station in Santa Maria, Vatican. Ever since the 1st of June 2017, no signal has been coming to England. I thought with the sun being 99 degrees outside, the signal would be loud and clear. Is another radio station blocking the signals?
Well, good question. Well, Grant's reception logs goes as follows. June 6th, 15.595 megahertz, 19 meter band, not been on for ages. 9.570 megahertz, 31 meter band, not on. 9.515 megahertz, 31 meter band. Simpo 15151, someone there, but too much noise. 9.640 megahertz, 31 meter band, not on. Well, Grant wrote 15.595 megahertz, but I think it's pretty obvious that it's just a typo. He's been listening to us for far too long to not know that it's actually 15.575 megahertz. And Grant, we assure you that the signal does not depend on the engineer's mood swings. It is on. It just has difficulty reaching the Great Britain, I suppose. And yes, we have been requesting for a relay station, or a relay signal for a while now, but German and French sections seem to get priority because they only have 1 or 2 broadcast slots as opposed to the more than 10 that we have, actually.
True, it's been a while since we've got a report of a clean, strong signal in the UK, but there have been some days where we did receive some good news from the region. If you're listening, Grant, perhaps you want to give our 22-hour UTC broadcast on 11.810 megahertz a go. That's because listener Alan Rowe of Middlesex, England, sent us an online reception report recently on the frequency, and although it wasn't spectacular, it was still far better than 15151.
Right. Alan said that he tuned into us on 11.810 megahertz using an ELAD FDM S2 SDR receiver with a 17-meter long outdoor antenna, and he rated the Simpo 35333 from 2200 to 2230 hours UTC, which deteriorated to 15231 from 2230 to 2240 hours UTC. He wrote fair reception at tune-in at 2200 UTC, but signal became weaker by 2230 UTC and unusable by 2240 UTC.
And he also gave us lots of details on the content he heard and left a message saying, I was very pleased to catch your English program this evening as I missed your previous relays in English via overseas transmitters. I still listen regularly to some of the music programs in the French and German language transmissions via French and UK transmitters, which usually are heard very well here. I still live in hope that one day you will reinstate an English relay again. It was good to be able to catch up on your news program again today, and I hope that the reception continues and improves at this time so that I can continue to hear your program.
Well, that makes the two of us in living in hope that we can get an English relay again. So again, we will continue to request a relay, but it seems the French and German teams get priority for the time being. Thank you to both Grant and Alan for staying with us despite the subpar signal condition, and we also hope that you'll be able to hear us clearly very soon. And that's all the time we have for the letters, emails, and reception reports from you today. We'll be sure to send out the corresponding QSL cards to everyone who requested.
Well, that's all we have for you this week on KBS Listeners Lounge. We hope you enjoyed the show. This has been Lawrence Taylor.
And this has been Kim Ji-eun. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for tuning in to KBS World Radio. KBS World Radio is Korea's flagship international broadcaster, airing in 11 different languages. The English service of KBS World Radio broadcasts 2 hours a day for various media outlets, including shortwave radio, satellite radio, and internet. Visit our website at world.kbs.co.kr, where you can stream all of our content on our internet radio Wink by tuning into various channels like Wink 24 and Wink Music. Wink is also available on mobile if you download our on-air app onto your mobile phone. Visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/EnglishKBS or follow us on Twitter at KBS World Radio. You can also email us at English